We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's March 14th here in Seoul. I'm Shin Yeun, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Choi-Hee.
Happy Thursday!
Happy Thursday, and Im Sang-yeok.
Thanks for having me.
Good morning. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. In just a week since South Korean theme park Everland opened up pre-reservations for admissions to its Sky Garden Path, 6,000 people have signed up. The Sky Garden Path is the capital's first plum blossom theme park with over 11,700 trees blossoming with spring flowers. Everland is currently receiving online reservations for the garden park that's set to open from March 15th to 26th. As of now, 80% of those who have reserved are women. Most are in their 30s or 50s. And day after day, we're seeing AI technology develop. Recently, a report commissioned by the U.S. State Department pointed to how catastrophic AI could be to national security. Gladstone AI conducted interviews with over 200 people from various AI-related sectors like companies or cybersecurity researchers and stated that the most AI systems could possibly pose an extinction-level threat to humankind, namely by being weaponized to inflict irreversible damage or by losing control of its privacy system. Gladstone AI's report called for the U.S. government to intervene and push for stronger measures to thwart such a threat. And lastly, ever since the government implemented green license plates for corporate-owned cars, we've seen the sales of imported luxury cars also come down. The Korea Automobile Importers and Distributors Association reported a 19.4% on-year drop in imported vehicle sales in January. This was the lowest since 2013. Also effective from that month, the Korean government made sure that all corporate-owned vehicles had lime green license plates to distinguish them from privately owned cars with white plates. And the reason why the government decided to do this was because local companies enjoy tax cuts of up to $6,000 per year if they buy or lease a car for business purposes. However, it's been tradition for many to exploit this practice. We've seen many sons and daughters of business owners drive these corporate cars as if it were their own personal car. And also before this new policy, the law did not cap the total deductible amount over time, which allowed people to write off the entire purchase price of the car under corporate expenses. And though this may not be the only reason behind the drop in imported luxury car sales, green license plates have definitely caused the buzz in Korea, which is exactly why I'd like to ask our panelists what you think about this policy.
Yeah, so I do understand the government's intention to change the color of the number plates on the corporate-owned cars, but it's my wonder whether this would be really effective at all. Of course, it would curb the money laundering by many firms, and like you mentioned, it would stop the sons and daughters of jaebers from using these corporate-owned cars for their private use. But at the same time, changing the number plate into green would actually become symbol of the wealth in the end. So the bottom line of this policy is to actually spread the fairness value within our society. But if we see cars on the roads with green plates, then people would think, oh, that guy is driving corporate-owned cars, meaning that he would be rich. And this can also be one form of a way to brag about your wealth. And at the same time, I think there will be various attempts from the companies to circumvent this policy and create loopholes. Still, there are just so many corporate-owned cars on the roads up to today, and I think it will take some time for this regulation to settle in within our society.
That's a very new perspective, Sang-yeok, because normally what I would think is now that we're seeing green license plates, we would think that, oh, that's just a corporate car, that's not your own personal car. But at the same time, that's a great point, because if you think about it, if you're able to own a corporate car, that means you have a business, which can also flaunt your wealth.
Right.
What about you? What do you think?
No, I totally agree with Sang-yeok, and I don't think this will be very effective. And as Sang-yeok mentioned, it could potentially even create a new form of social stratification based on wealth. So if you have those green plates, it means that you own a corporate car. And this could lead to stereotyping and discrimination as well. And to be honest, I'm a little worried about that whole new phenomenon that might arise.
Right.
But policies come and go. So if it proves to be ineffective once it's rolled out, then it may disappear in the future.
Exactly. I think this is something that we should be concerned about. We're already seeing so much discrimination already when it comes to flaunting wealth. But maybe this policy might even exacerbate that with more social stratification. Now, that was our news feed for this Thursday. We're going to switch gears to our main discussion topic of the day now. Today is White Day, a romantic day celebrated exactly 1 month after Valentine's Day here in Korea. It's also seen as a day men give gifts to women because on Valentine's Day here in Korea, women give gifts to men. Celebrated every March 14th, White Day is an extra day for couples to commemorate their love. And in light of this day, we're going to be looking at the latest dating patterns and inclinations of people from our generation. And as an icebreaker, I would like to ask how you guys think millennials and Gen Zers, given that you guys are representing them, are dating these days. And do you guys have any special plans for White Day yourself?
Well, I don't have any special plans.
I mean, you look amazing. It looks like you have plans.
Thank you. Well, I don't. Many millennials and Gen Zs seem to be indulging in luxurious dating these days, actually. However, opinions are divided when it comes to how much money one needs to spend on a date. Some young people even believe that they need to have a certain amount of money to even be able to date someone. And to shed more light on this, a survey was conducted to find out what the MZers consider to be a reasonable amount of money to spend on a date. So if you take a look at the screen, the results of the survey show that there's no clear consensus as to how much money should be used, but more than 2/3 of the respondents that's in total, believe that the reasonable budget for an anniversary date is between 75 to 230 US dollars. So that would be about 100,000 won to 300,000 won. And I believe that the amount you spend on activities with a partner is actually very subjective and dependent on mutual agreement. So there's no fixed answer as to how much you should spend, and at times you might end up spending a little more than usual, while on other occasions you could have an enjoyable time without spending a penny.
Exactly. What about you, Sang-yeop? How are you enjoying dating these days, and do you have any special plans?
Well, I have good news for Ji. She's not the only one who doesn't have any special...
might as well all play together.
Oh yeah, that would be good. Okay, but I don't have like special plans on White Day too. But the thing that I found really interesting is that a lot of media coverage says that these days the marriage rate and the dating rate of Korea is really low, but somehow people around me are so eager to find a lover and to get married. But of course, the dating patterns and styles have changed over time. Well, when we compare today with the 90s and the early 2000s. And nowadays, many millennials and Gen Zs prefer to go to hipster places. And I think we talked about this the other day in the newsstand. Many youth want to go to Seongsu-dong or Munrae-dong, where they renovated old facilities into new ones. And many young people post social media postings about those places. And I think the dating styles can differ depending on your age group. So if you are in your early or mid-20s, you have that energy, and that's the time when you have the passion and fury, love with your girlfriend or boyfriend. So they tend to go to outdoor activities like hiking and camping. Now, on the other hand, for those couples in their 30s, like me, we are financially stable, but at the same time, we lack like energies and physical power, which was bit sad, but still, we go to like indoor places like hotels or comic rooms where you can read comic books and relax.
I mean, I think everyone has their personal preference, but I can relate to this because especially my friends, I'm still in my 20s, and a lot of my friends are meeting people in their 30s, and there's a disparity into what they want to do. The discrepancy is those in their 20s want to go on about, they're still really lighted up, but those in their 30s are like, why don't we go to a cafe? Comic book room, board game cafe, and just like chill there. Now, I actually listed a few traits I found from our generation, and I wanted to test out if they're actually applicable to our panelists. So the first trait I tracked down was that many young couples in Korea seem to be quite sensitive with how they divide their dating fees, which is exactly why some make a common dating account or a couple's shared account. So have you ever used this? And we're going to incorporate our OX game again. We haven't done this in a while. So hold up O if you've ever had a shared couple's account with your partner.
No.
No? And Sang-yeop?
No.
Okay, both of you are no, so why don't we hear you out first?
Well, I haven't. I remember my uncle telling me, he said, once you start calculating expenses with the person you love, then the relationship will start losing that love.
Oh, that's such a great word.
It is, right? But it's not because of that I didn't have a shared
Oh,
bank account.
okay.
I do believe that it's fair to split expenses or take turns at least treating each other. But I do remember one of my close friends having this account with her boyfriend back in college. She told me that he wanted to make the account,
Yeah.
but her mother thought it was unattractive since he was 6 years older than her and was earning a lot more than her, and she was only a college student.
see.
So I guess depending on the circumstances, it could be a little subjective and different.
I see.
Yeah.
What about you, Sang-yeol?
So I never actually made dating accounts or strictly split the bills with my ex-girlfriends. It's because we didn't want to intervene with each other's spendings or expenditure. We just wanted to be cool and comfortable, and I didn't really want to bother into my girlfriend's bank accounts. We just had this belief: what's yours is yours. But at the same time, we didn't want to create one-way love or unconditional love where one side has to sacrifice everything. So, for example, when I bought dinner, then she would buy me a drink, and when she bought a movie ticket, then I would obviously buy popcorns or sodas. But come to think of it, I think this was all possible because we were not actually thinking about getting married back then. So at the time, we were just typical couples in the 20s, passionate, and we didn't really have this marriage on our bucket list. But if I make girlfriend now and if we go out together, then I would have to consider making bank accounts for marriage because, as you know, weddings these days cost a lot. And it is really difficult to raise a child with a small amount of money. So you really have to save some decent amount of assets in order to have a family.
So I think we can all agree that dating fees is definitely a deal breaker when it comes to making new relationships. I do think because we're living in such high inflation times, and as you mentioned, Sang-yeol, marriage, raising a kid, all those realistic factors require a lot of money, which is something that might push a lot of couples to not really get into a relationship. And speaking of not getting into a relationship, a recent survey from a survey company called WebBrain found that 8 out of 10 people last year thought it was a definite deal breaker. And that's why I think our generation really values fairness even in a romantic relationship. And another concept that I think resonates with people from our generation is the concept of situationships. Now, this is a casual, undefined, commitment-free relationship. And if it's when you may have these romantic or sexual relationships with someone, but you don't necessarily label or define the commitment. And it's a middle ground between friends and committed romantic partners. And I think it really encapsulates the modern nuance of relationships these days. But I'm quite curious as to whether you guys heard about this term, as it was the word of the year in 2023.
Exactly. Well, I did hear about this term, and in fact, it's a romantic arrangement that exists before or without defining the relationship, or DTR, they say. And so it lacks commitment and the associated norms or expectations, but it's a little more intimate than what they call a friendship with benefit.
Then quick O or X, are you for or against?
It depends, but O, if you're happy and it's a healthy relationship.
Oh, why? Give us a little bit more explanation.
Because I think it requires a lot of communication between the two partners. And I mean, it could have a lot of pros. Millennials these days, they're really worried about making ends meet. But at the same time, they do want intimacy. But in this situationship, you can have freedom. But at the same time, you can have that intimacy. And you could also get to learn about the other person without that time or pressure.
I see.
So you could really strike a balance between the two different needs, I
guess
think.
it's about how you perceive that type of thing. If it works for you, I mean, we always say you do you, but at the end of the day, what do you think about situationships? Are you for or against?
Well, actually, I'm against it.
Briefly,
so, but I do understand why people pursue situationship with their lover, because these days, the modern days are just so hectic. We have a lot of things to care about: our family, friends, our work. But at the same time, if this kind of belief spreads across our society, then it's my concern that there will be a lack of responsibility when it comes to having affairs and getting love with each other. So I think love always follows the responsibility. If you want to make a girlfriend, then you actually have to go out and search for a girl, socialize with others, and try your best to build the best relationship as much as possible. Now, if this kind of situationship continues, then there will be a lack of responsibility and virtues, humanistic virtues will be gone.
Exactly. I find it quite ironic that situationships have originated from not wanting a label, but we've already labeled this type of relationship as a situationship. Now, we asked our viewers whether they heard about this term situationships as well, as it seems to perfectly capture a growing number of younger couples' dating tendencies. Take a look at the screen to find out what 3 of them had to share with us. Let's start with Tiris Bell. Tiris Bell says, I think every romantic relationship hits the situationship phase, but I prefer not to, as there's no clear expectation and I'd probably get mixed signals and feelings. Hannah said, I view situationships as merely a temporary fix for those afraid of loneliness. For myself, I refuse to settle for anything less than a relationship built on clarity and mutual respect. Sunny says, I think being in a situationship is fine if you're ready to be honest with yourself and communicate well with your partner to let them know what you want. If it can give you a chance to explore more options without consuming an enormous amount of emotional energy or fear of commitment. Now, I think this really encapsulates what our panelists and our generation thinks about dating, but to better find out such reasons behind our evolving dating patterns from our generation, we're going to include a psychology expert in our talks. Stay tuned for our live interview. Let's find out more about the mindset behind millennials and Gen Z wanting fairness in a committed relationship or even just a situationship. We're going to turn to Christy Jun, a counselor from Torch Trinity Counseling Center. Welcome, Christy.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so based on our discussion so far, why do you think millennials and Gen Z seem to have these traits when dating, which is a preference for fairness and even situationships?
Well, there may be different reasons depending on what people strive for in their life and what they strive for in relationships. MZs who want more freedom and choice would probably prefer situationship, and those who actually fear commitment, as the poll says, feel uneasy about making long-term relationship plans, would also just want to go with the flow and just be flexible. And I think another reason could be that just some want to just get the benefits of a relationship and not want to sacrifice. And against the sense of not wanting to sacrifice and fulfill only one's own needs is something that is more prevalent in the modern society. And perhaps materialism could also explain why people are sensitive about spending more in relationships, that they would want fairness in spending money too. Also, as young people are in search of personal, professional, financial stability, some might not want to get too attached in a relationship, thinking it may distract them from pursuing their goals.
I see, Christy, though. Then what are some psychological drawbacks, though, to this?
Yes, I'm sure there are people who benefit from situationship, but we would have to consider the drawbacks. People in situationship may lack emotional security and may worry about how long the relationship will last, feel unsure about what to expect from your partner, and even may be unable to express one's needs. This sense of ambiguity and uncertainty can increase a person's stress and anxiety. It's very important for someone to feel safe and secure in a relationship. And actually having a certain boundary in all relationships helps you to feel safe. And boundaries help determine what is okay, what is not okay. And when there's no communicated, respected boundaries, that's when a relationship could get on a toll and even be unsafe at times.
Okay, so then what does it mean to be in a mentally fulfilling and healthy relationship? Any red flags to look out for?
Yes, I would love to elaborate on what I mentioned about boundaries. I think being in a fulfilling, safe relationship means setting boundaries, communicating your needs and expectations, and even issues you might be having in the relationship. So healthy relationship means both partners' needs are being met, not being one-sided. So a red flag could be when one partner is just trying to benefit from his or her own needs and harm the other. And in a healthy relationship, there are going to be both benefits and sacrifices that come along. It's going to be inevitable. Wanting just to get out of a relationship or using the relationship to benefit oneself might lead to an unhealthy relationship. So both partners who are willing to commit to a relationship despite one's effort, sacrifice, may be more ready to build fulfilling, healthy relationships.
And I think this is great advice that comes in White Day. Hopefully all couples out there or those in a situationship will really take that into heart. Thank you so much, Christy. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you, too.
All right, now ending off, since it's White Day, I'd like to ask our panelists to give us some recommendations as to any hot places we can go around for dates here in Seoul.
Well, it's almost cherry blossom season,
Yes.
so I'd like to go to one of those famous spots. And today I was recommended that Dongguk University has a beautiful hill where the trees make a very nice arch. So
It's
it's
so pretty.
yeah, so it's apparently a very good photo spot, and I'd like to go there. So.
I think it's so nice, and you're dressed like a cherry blossom yourself, so hopefully you might be able to go today. What about you?
Okay, as a Dongguk University graduate, it's my first time hearing about that spot. Okay, so if you are bored about outdoor activities or watching cherry blossom, maybe indoor activities can be awesome in the White Day, like going to musicals or opera shows. We have the Seoul Arts Center nearby
Yes.
Arirang, so why don't you give it a try?
Yeah, come to Arirang, see us, wish us all a happy White Day, and then go watch a musical. And I think the ending note for our episode today is to understand that you need to communicate with your lover, whatever type of relationship you're in, and hopefully you'll be able to enjoy a wonderful White Day all over the world. In the meantime, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Choi Ji-hee
Always a pleasure.
and Im Sang-hyuk.
Happy White Day.
Happy White Day. Now, thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are
News Generation.